Hey, this is Matt. Once again, welcome back to the video, and this is a paid request for Nicholas, who wanted me to not only look at Amazing Fantasy number 15, but to the first 10 issues of the Amazing Spider-Man. Now, I don't know if I'll be able to show all 10 of them, but I figured I'd at least show a couple of them to help with this. But for those, first off, interested in requesting any type of videos, random thoughts, streams, commentaries, video game playthrough for an hour, full playthrough, random streams, thoughts, rankings, reactions, like comment, whatever the case may be, movie review, re-review, could be movie review or re-review of pretty much anything. Feel free. PayPal's the best way to do it. Do you have a CashApp as well? Links are down below in the info box, and I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. For those who sent them, thank you. I do appreciate it. And so, like I said, he wanted me to talk about Amazing Fantasy number 15, which I did in the video before, but also the first 10 issues of Amazing Spider-Man. And you see, look at that, 12 cents. Can you imagine getting anything for 12 cents? Fuck. Can't get anything. You can't get a soda. You can't get anything for 12 cents. You get a gumball, it's at least maybe 25 to 50 cents. And of course, you have that comic code, which at times they're a bit too prickly on what you can and could not show. Now, Amazing Fantasy number 15, the character did so well, it's like, hey, we gotta have his own comic book. Thus. And then they figured, well, what's to really make a big impression? Let's have him deal with the Fantastic Four, the first, superhero family, was very popular at the time. And there's two stories of this. It's not just this, but it's also the Chameleon. So first we have the aftermath of what happened after, where Uncle Bill died. I wish there was no such thing. So for those who didn't see Amazing Fantasy number 15, a reference to what had happened. And Aunt May Sally's not having much money, so he's wondering how to support his Aunt May. And then, has the thoughts of, well, what if I could rob? What if I could steal? I could do anything. But Aunt May would not like that, and that's not the right thing to do. I like that they do reference that, though, because that would be, whether you're, listen, as much as you're a good person, there would be that temptation of you could just steal money, and if you just steal one bag, hell, your parent, your loved one could be set for however long. But then he's like, hey, remember I was on the show, I could be on more shows. Admission's only $1 is pretty good. Only pay $1 to see a show. And then these people being so prickly. Oh, we might have known he'd rather study. Oh, who needs a walking bookworm? This guy's loved one just died, as it says, a few days ago. And you being a prick to him. No one's like, oh, I'm sorry about your uncle. Just everyone being a fucking prick. So he does the show. Nice variety of angles. And this is where it's... He's like, I can't give you cash, I gotta give you a check. So there's a record for taxes. Now, why is it now you have to give a check? What about all those times before in Amazing Fantasy number 15? If you're able to give them cash then, give them cash now. So, obviously can't tell his name, and he's like... Okay, well, you do write the check, but good luck trying to cash it. I don't know, I just like the idea of a superhero trying to cash a check and then can't do it. That's such, like, a real thing in a weird, like, just not something you would think of. A superhero having to worry about money, having to worry about paying the bills, having to worry about, how to make ends meet. And because you have a secret identity, you can't just do stuff to get, paid. It's like, when you're doing those shows before... You tell me there's nobody out there that would be willing to pay, like, a booking fee, but it needs to be in cash. Trust me, there'd be someone to, okay, I'll pay in cash. To have this, fine, I'll pay in cash. I'll get a shitload of money from the gate. So, there'd be someone. And here we get a bit more of J. Jonah Jameson, who out of the blue wants to say he's a menace, so then he doesn't get many more bookings. Just J. Jonah with his damn cum catcher mustache gotta be a problem for Spider-Man. And then he brings up his son. Interesting, he mentions both Fantastic Four and Ant-Man. Because I didn't know Ant-Man was as big of a hero to be mentioned, but no pun intended. Sorry, Sonny. I'm looking for a school kid. The job advertised for a man. It means your balls didn't drop. This is a sad thing where she's pawning money and he's, angry and pissed off about it. This would have been funny if he did this and he broke a hole in the wall and then he's got like, just skedaddle, get the fuck out of there. So this is where he's got to save J. Jonah's son. Now, later on, they would do this thing where that's how the symbiote would come into play. Obviously, in this time, that's not the case. That's not until the Secret Wars, and they're going off, and you find the. I wonder if they're doing the Secret Wars, if that's when Spider-Man will get the symbiote in this new Marvel Spider-Man stuff with Tom Holland. I don't know. I guess we will see. Here's just J. Jonah's son is trash and he's got to go save it. Yeah, it's nice that this guy just very trusting. We have nothing to lose. There's no way we can do it. It's like, yeah, here's this guy in some red and black or a little bit of blue, and you're sure, son. Well, I'll trust him. He'll get the thing down. And here you get a little bit of that Spider-Man attitude. Still flapping your lips, mister. Just want to see what I can do. In other words, get the fuck out of my way. No time for love, Dr. Jones. Get the fuck out of my way. I'm going to splooge your face. And I like this pilot is like, yeah, sure, this guy named Spider-Man, sure, I'll help you. Sure, why not, dude? And then there's going to be a hell of a trick. I like the artwork by Steve Ditko. Very classic artwork. Love the movement here, the show, the velocity, where he's hanging on for the ride. Able to fix it, able to get him to safety. And for some reason, even he can't believe it. J. Jonah, just an asshole. Make up stories. Even though he saved your son. But it makes us, the viewer, the reader, feel more sorry for this guy. That even though he's doing the right thing, even though he only did the right thing, he is a wanted man. So, even his Aunt May thinks Spider-Man's a piece of shit. Everything I do with Spider-Man seems to turn out wrong. And that temptation, well, hell, they want to make me a fucking menace. Maybe I will be a menace and fuck everything up. Then you have the Chameleon with the Fantastic Four, which actually wants to get a job, which is kind of funny. Him wanting to get a job and get paid working for Fantastic Four. And then we see how tough this guy is, able to go one-on-one with the Fantastic Four. Able to take a hit from the Thing, his strength, how fast he is, and then how he's able to use his web, his spidey sense, to notice a visible girl. Now that'd be considered sexist to call that. His agility, just all the powers he can, the fact he can go toe-to-toe with the Fantastic Four says a lot. And then this here, we're a non-profit organization. We don't pay salaries. And then we're introduced to the Chameleon. Then cool villain. I like this look. This no face look. And not the Chameleon from fucking Kraven the Hunter. Of course, hey, Spider-Man's a menace, so I'll pretend to be him. He's won money, so I'll pretend to be him. Of course, he gets fucked over. He's got to make his escape. We see his ability to use these webs for different things, like parachute here. Did a nice amount of action you get. You get helicopter rides, capsule rides, fighting the Fantastic Four. Then this asshole gotta use his spidey sense to get the guy out. Rip his fucking shirt here. You don't cry in the car. And even though he's doing the right thing, and even though he's solving stuff, it's like, no matter what he does, he can't catch a break. And they really are honing in on maybe Spider-Man will turn to a life for crime. Maybe Spider-Man will do the go on the path of evil, which is not something they normally did with superheroes. So it definitely gives a conundrum that makes the reader wonder what's going to happen next. And they didn't feel sorry for the character and what he's going through. So that right there gives initial camaraderie between the reader and the superhero. Now going through this Amazing Spider-Man 2, issue 2, we have the Vulture. The Vulture is always one of those villains. I'm like, okay, he's fine. He was never one of my favorites. I prefer Scorpion, Rhino, Green Goblin, those characters more. The Vulture was kind of like, okay, I get it, he flies. You know, I don't mind the look of him. I didn't mind Michael Keaton's portrayal of him, and it's one of the few things I liked in Homecoming. That's where he gets the idea of taking pictures, which will get him a job at the Daily Bugle. And we see that at times he gets his ass kicked. Like, he gets put in this, literally just dump his ass like into a fucking toilet. And he's like, well, what do? I could just jump through and get the fuck out of here. So again, Vulture was never one of my favorite villains. But you see the slowly but surely stuff being introduced. More of the Daily Bugle. This here with all the more cartridges for his Spidey stuff, his web fluid. Him taking money, getting pictures for it. Sight, I'm gonna go from down below and fly through these fucking sewers. Hope you beat the Ninja Turtles, you fuck. Obviously, this is before that was a thing. The Spider-Man's in on the action. But he does have an idea up his sleeve. But I mean, the action here is not, I don't know, I didn't really find the most exciting. He swings it, he gets the device, he takes pictures. It's just because they have to be in the air like this. I don't know if there's like enough dynamic stuff. It has a little gadget. Something to do with magnets. And they say, I don't know, like this, I like the previous issue more. Because you got the Fantastic Four, you got the Chameleon, you got the capsule, you got the helicopter ride, all that stuff here. It's just the Vulture in comic form. I don't know what makes for the most exciting, at least in here with these panels. Like, you see how everything's just white in the back. It's fine. It's not something I love, though. I just don't find it the most exciting. And it's interesting here where he says, I paid the rent for a full year, And then tomorrow I'm buying you the newest kitchen appliances you ever drooled over. So he was able to pay rent for a whole year with one paycheck, one thing. Unless he's lying, but I don't see why he would be lying. I mean, if you're able to pay rent for a whole year, I think you're doing well financially. But then the next time it's like, I'm doing bad financially. I'm like, what? You paid rent for a whole year with a few pictures. They have the Tinkerer, which is not really known as one of the big villains of Spider-Man for a reason. He looks like a goober for one. He's working with aliens. And something about putting stuff in these radios to be spies, because this is around the time of the Cold War. There's even a point here where he calls someone a commie. So the whole Cold War, these aliens, I mean, they might as well be the Russians going in to spy on America. So you definitely had some spy stuff going on, trying a little bit of espionage. But we don't want to specifically say the Russians, so we'll say aliens. These damn commies. So he's able to go in, try to beat the fuck out of him. Just trapped in this cage. And, hey, put it right in the hole. Make it quick. Make it nice and accurate in the hole. As she would like. Punch him in their equipment. You ruin everything. They were from, but you traitor. This guy gets away for another day. I guess the idea that the Tinkerer may come back again. I don't know if he was really that exciting of a villain compared to the other. Like the Vulture, at least with the costume, he does stand out. Not so much the Tinkerer. So this one, I was kind of meh on. It was fine for what it needed to be. But I do think this one, with Doc Ock, definitely went back to the goodness of the first one. Just to me, it's like, they really ramp up the villains. Like you had the Chameleon, you had Dr. Octopus. Soon you don't have the Lizard. Remember you had these big ass safes people put stuff in. You have the Spidey Signal, which they kind of let that go, the whole Spidey Signal stuff. Here I thought that the webbing, they made that a bit too big. And it's not my favorite look of his. I guess again for some it's artistic choice. Then we get into Dr. Otto Octavius, the explosion, what happened. He got brain damage. It's fused into his body. Now, depending on which version you watch, there are different interpretations. Of course, in Spider-Man 2, things were a little bit different. I like the way they did it in the PS4 Spider-Man game. That him and Peter knew each other, and it was like a kind of a father-son dynamic. And then you find out he has this degenerative disease, and that's why he's adamant to get this done. But then when they do, it affects his brain, and he has this anger towards Norman Osborn, and that kind of affects his judgment, and so on and so forth. Here he just thinks he's the supreme human being of the earth. And this is actually the worst Spider-Man gets the shit kicked out of him early on, because here he gets his ass kicked. That's the thing, you see like the way these are and just how fast they are, how strong they are. It's just a good look. I like the glasses he wears, the whole thing with you. It just very dynamic villain. And look, he just bitch slaps them. How many villains bitch slap the heroes? But he just literally you dare to mock me? Look at the bitch slap. Not even a punch, just literally a bitch slap. Fuck out of here, bitch. Again, just very interesting look and dynamic for a villain. And then Peter just gives up so fucking easily. Like, back in the day, he would just give up so fucking easily. And then Johnny Storm. I like Johnny Storm's like, I would go after him, but I need to rest. See right here, I have to wait a few days to let it get strong again. Which I'm like, is that a thing? Do you have to wait for it to get strong again? But yeah, he's wasting it doing stupid fucking things like this. Like 2 and 2 and 3. This is what happens when the thing helps me with my homework. I get results like this. So that's funny, giving shit to the thing, showing their dynamic. But it's the speech should never give up. He tasted the heart, goes back in, and able to kick some ass. Some dodging. Using his scientist prowess to create some stuff. Able to use his agility. I do like this shot, get him right in the face. Right with the cum shot. Very cool dynamic there. That's just a cool shot. And give him this big old-fashioned punch to the jaw. Because to be fair, he's not superhuman, just the arms are. So the fact, knock him right the fuck out. And you see, like, definitely a decent amount of appearances with Johnny Storm. There's another one. Is the next somewhere? Not the next one, but a few bits later that you see more of Johnny Storm, which is cool. So that I did like. I like the I do like Doc Ock. It is one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. Sandman, I do like this because I like what he's able to do. I think with the Sand, there's just a lot of creative things you can do. I thought this looked a bit weird. I remember at first going, what the hell is that? Oh, it's the web. But I like the idea that he could not, since they technically did not do the crime first, they're like, we're going to sue you. Oh, I should have waited till they broke into the store. Yep, we're going to sue. That reminds me of like that movie, Suburban Commando. No, let me guess, you don't pound my face? No, we're kidding. This is the 90s. We're going to sue you. So the idea that the quotes are ready for police because they want to sue Spider-Man. Even though they were going to do the crime, but technically they didn't. So I don't know, I just thought that was a fun bit to start the comic with. I mean, nowadays this outfit may seem a bit weird, but it seemed more understandable back then. But just what they're able to do with the sand itself, be able to move like Mr. Fantastic. Like, look at that. That's such a weird thing for the top and bottom to go like that. You fucking tore his damn mask off. He's able to work locks with his finger. Spider-Man cutting his damn finger, sewing the shit. We get the backstory of the Sandman, which I didn't mind. Having to get away from Aunt May. Like the fact that Spider-Man was fucked with J. Jonah that made him rip his pants. And then what he's able to do, like, okay, mess with the blade so they can't grab it. They're trying to do this so I look like a snake. Just a lot of creative stuff you can do with the Sandman. And I also like the idea that he actually gets to a school, so he's like, oh, give me a diploma. You want a diploma. Oh, you want to talk shit to me? I'm going to beat the fuck out of you. And then Spider-Man's like, okay, time to kick your ass now. Again, the way he's able to do stuff with his fists like that. And yeah, I just like the creativity. Just really cool. Really cool stuff. One in particular like this, I love that. I like the fact that he's able to do like a suplex and the fucking face explodes because it's made of sand. So, that just, You're able to be like graphic without being graphic, if that made sense. And then using his wit, he's trying to cover me, so let me enter a ball. Let me think you don't get away with the drill. And fucking vacuums him. Now I know he says it's like a certain vacuum. It must be a hell of a vacuum that you can't get out of it. I like the fact he fucks around to make it pretend like he's having a fight so he can get the pictures right here. And he thinks everything's hunky-dory, everything's fine, but then this girl that he's supposed to go on a date, Liz, is pissed at him. And he wants to beat the shit out of him, but if he did, people know he was Spider-Man. Not even Liz thinks I'm a coward. That's sure pretty hard to take. Again, no matter how far he gets, he'll get one step forward, it'll be 2 steps back. And all the different opinions. Kids like talking shit about Spider-Man. Now I want to be the Human Torch. Am I some crackpot wasting my time seeking fame and glory? Again, guy just trying to do his best. But this is definitely one of my favorites of the early bits. Just a lot of action, cool villain, a lot of creative stuff that the villain does. You have Amazing Spider-Man 5. Cool that you got Doctor Doom in there, who's normally, of course, a Fantastic Four villain. So, you know, I guess early on I was like, hey, let's give him this big villain to tackle, Doctor Doom. Which we see that what happened with him with the Fantastic Four. I like the idea that he thinks Spider-Man's a villain, so it's like, hey, come join my side. Thought that was kind of an interesting way to start that. And what was the line? I need you like I need another nose. It's okay. Obviously, you know, he'll get better with the puns and the wit. But interesting to see this early state. You're steering me plumb out of my wits. And I know at times he would use the word chum, which I always think of like Adam West Batman using, you know, chum. What's going on, chum? But it's just different time period, different vernacular that people and kids taught. And that's the thing with Doctor Doom, he would always use like fake Doctor Dooms and never know which was the real one. We use a bit of his agility to get the fuck out. Blows up the building. Of course, he gets blamed for it. Why wouldn't he get blamed for it? Flash Thompson being Spider-Man. This is where you get a case of mistaken identity. Where Doctor Doom thinks Flash is Spidey. I like the idea that he's like, you know what? Flash deserves it. Fuck him. Right here. It's like, oh, yeah. They say, what am I thinking? I could no more sit back and let any harm come to Thompson than I could swim to the moon. The real Spider-Man will have to go into action again. So, but I did like the temptation of, fuck that guy. Fuck him. But I was like, no, I can't do that. Come on, I can't do that. And this is where he's got to get away from Aunt May. I just like the idea of Doctor Doom. Like, Doctor Doom's such a cool-looking villain. I don't know about this new thing with Robbie Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom. Obviously, it's going to be some type of interpretation of Iron Man, like some multiverse alternate Iron Man. I would assume that's the case, because it just would be much weirder if you don't bring that to light. Like, people go, Tony? Like, people would obviously say that. Otherwise, just be more confusing and awkward. But I like the battle, like using all these different creative ways of using the web. So he uses a shield, these web balls, and then you have all these traps. You have this ice trap, you have these metal ball trap, you got the flame floor, just fucking Tower of Doom that Doctor Doom has. All these damn clones too. You just want him to beat the shit out of Doctor Doom. But Doctor Doom's getting his licks in. Like in shit and shit, he runs away. And then Fantastic Four get the fate. Flash Thompson takes the credit. As he puts it, I got nothing but luck, and it's all bad. So I didn't like the I wish he could have gotten some punches in on Doctor Doom. But overall, it's kind of cool to see him face off against one of the main villains and stand toe to toe with him. So thought that was nice to see. So I did like that one. The Lizard is a good story. I like that it takes place, like, this is in the South, in the swamps, and so Spider-Man eventually goes there. Now, the original look of the Lizard, before we get to that, we have him saving Betty, not Betty, Liz, from these two assholes at the museum, and then Liz having the hots for Spider-Man. Always nice when he fucks with J. Jonah Jameson because he deserves it. And then you get a little bit of this, like, first kind of type of romance between him and Betty. That was really the first one for Peter. Then they go on a trip to deal with this lizard. Now, the look of the lizard, for the most part, I like. And you see this backstory that he had one arm, but the whole thing was some lizards that could regenerate, so he wanted that, but it turned worse and became this creature. So it's kind of that tragic figure. And it looks fine, this comic book panel. When I think of the lizard, the one I prefer is the one with the more extended snout that you would see in, like, Tom McFarlane's art, among other stuff. That's what I prefer. And actually, I mean, I'll see if I can find it on my phone. And even though this is a smaller picture, I'll see if I can put it to the camera. And but I did like that with the more pronounced snout. And maybe it doesn't seem like it, but it felt like it protruded more. And maybe this is the way with all the teeth and the way it's drawn. Maybe it's not as much as I think it is, but just the way it's drawn. I do prefer this more of the lizard. Maybe just the way it's just more viciously drawn. But at times it feels like a snout that's more protruded. But even in this, where it's, God, you can't see it. It seems the snout's a bit further. It maybe just the fact it was just, it just looked so much more dangerous. But I like the idea of the lizard. I like the little tragic backstory. Him trying to talk to his kid. Spider-Man saves the kid. And also a bit different environment. That's in the swamp. I like this idea of having these swamp shoes to raft down the river. And just a different, almost like a bayou setting. Same with like having an abandoned Spanish fort. I'm like, where south is this that you just find abandoned Spanish forts? Is this in Mexico? Or South America? Like, how south are we that just find abandoned Spanish forts? I mean, I'm just wondering. But I like the idea that he controls alligators. You have this claustrophobic contained setting in order to get this antidote and this kind of back and forth fight trying to get this thing down his fucking throat. And able to work out. So it seems like it's a one and done with the lizard. So I don't remember what came about, if the antidote didn't take later on, or he did it again, or something else. And then J. Jonah tears up the pictures, even though it was the truth. And now the girl that he likes, Spider-Man, she's into Spider-Man. Roses are red, vows are blue. I'm still at large, so phooey to you. So there you go. But I did like that. I like the change of setting. For the most part, the design of the lizard. Definitely decent amount of action put throughout it. Nice little bit of tragic bits for the character. So again, already you got Lizard and Sandman and Doc Ock. You already have this nice collection of villains. You go, oh, cool. What's going to happen next? Now, already they're repeating a villain, the Vulture, but I guess, hey, he was popular. We'll give him another take. Like I said before, Vulture isn't my favorite villain. He's fine what he needs to do, what he needs to showcase. Of course, I like the idea that the Vulture tricks him into thinking he's going to do the same thing, and then sucker punches him. And the idea that he sprained his arm, fucked up his arm, and that's a big part of this. Promise you won't play those dangerous volleyball games. You know how dangerous those volleyball games are. You know, those volleyball games will be a killer, man. Worse than football. I think this, I like the finale more in this, because I like the fact it takes place in the Daily Bugle. It just felt like a more intense chase, because it seemed like a much more closed off space because of the Daily Bugle. So all these like tight turns and corners with all these people around. Having to get the hell out of there, go around the stairs. So I think that's what it is. I just like the location. I like the fact it takes place in the Daily Bugle. And yeah, because you have an enclosed space, it seems like you have a bit more dynamic poses. Leaping off and fighting. Especially with this printing press machine. I like the idea of using this big old parachute as well. I think it looks cool visually. So I'd probably say I like this a bit more. I especially love the fact he tags that potty mouth, big mouth. And then you get a little bit of Peter Parker trying to be a player. You know? Rest your head on my shoulder, blue eyes. Let's enjoy the silence. Nothing, baby. Like talking like Ash Williams, like talking like Bruce Campbell from Army of Darkness. What will Mr. Jameson say? Nothing, baby. For at least an hour. He's got the damn web on there. On his mouth. So this, I thought the dialogue seemed a bit more fun. And the action, especially the third act, seemed a bit more dynamic. So I would say like this, I like the story a bit more with the Vulture. And you get number 8. this was there. I mean, this whole thing with this machine called the Living Brain, where it's this new school project, and first you have Flash Thompson picking on him again. They don't have a boxing match. He's got to hide his identity. And then this living robot with I don't mind the design. Definitely gives a sci-fi look to it. But then they asked him, "What's the idea of Spider-Man?" And it's close to giving the real answer. He's got to find a way to hide it. I mean, I like the idea of the boxing match between him and Flash Thompson. And even though he's pulling his punches, he's able to wreck him up. And then even this, like the guy turns and they blame it on him. It's like, it's not my fault he wasn't paying attention. And the same with the robot, just like no matter what Spider-Man can do, it could outwit, it could learn, it could be quick and fast and try to figure out how to deal with it. I mean, at least it was a bit different. Wasn't the same type of villain. And you do get some nice bit of action and some dynamic poses. At least there's that. So I didn't mind that. It's a little bit of a different excursion. I like this idea of using it to swing through the window. Geronimo. I do like that. I also like that Peter kind of pushes the ID to Flash Thompson. Like, maybe Flash is Spider-Man. I do like that he kind of puts that into the ether. I like this bit more, where this whole thing between him and Johnny Storm, if you want to say Johnny Torch, he's like pissed at the guy showing off. He's like, well, I could show off too, and let me be a part of the party. Then he steers her with this like web bat. Your friendly neighborhood grocer doesn't sell. Thank you, kind friends, for your warm welcome. Being you insist, I'll gladly join your little party. So, all he wanted to do was join the party. That's all he wanted to do. That's all he wanted to do. So whether it be jealousy or whatever the case, I just like the fact this fight between the two, going back and forth, using their attributes. I like this shot here, using the sand to bring him down a notch or two. That's a cool shot. Like, how many damn like buzzsaw flames does he have going? And it reads like, hey, can I give you a hand, son? And he's like, fuck off. So he's definitely a bit hot-headed. Like, he's saying people are laughing, no one is. I just, again, like him fighting the Fantastic Four was so popular. Let's do it again. But I said, I like the bits of action. How sweet Sue Storm is. Well, you boys bury the hatchet. I like to bury it alright and give you 3 guesses where. Yeah, up his ass. And then him hitting on Sue Storm, I like, with the heart. So it's just a fun little fight, fun little back and forth dip measuring contest between Human Torch and Spider-Man. I thought it was fun. A lot of fun little panels showing their powers. Shows Spider-Man getting hang with the big boys. That part I probably like more than the robot thing was fine, but the stuff with Fantastic Four I liked a bit more. Electro. I do like Electro as a character. I always thought his costume was goofy. Maybe that's why I wasn't so... I mean, Amazing Spider-Man 2, He didn't look that great in there either, but I always thought this Alfred was still goofy. I know it's like I know it's the comic, but it's still a really goofy fucking costume. I always thought this was a goofy fucking costume. Looked like a damn Christmas ornament. I liked his powers. I guess he was like a electric lineman, and then there was a lightning hit, and he got turned into it. It's again weird that he had enough money to pay rent for a year, but now he doesn't have dough for this surgery for Aunt May. I was like, really? I mean, enough money to pay rent for a year, but you don't have the dough for this operation? But it is what it is. Electro's really Spider-Man. Yeah, that makes a lot of fucking sense. Why would the paper print if it's not true? Oh, you silly gooses. You silly shits. You silly shits. So not only is his aunt in the hospital, not only does he need money, but now he has this bullshit to deal with. It never ends. And it never ends. The first of many times where Aunt May would be in trouble and Peter would have to worry. I think eventually, decades later, they did. I think eventually kill off Aunt May. I'm not talking about the Tom Holland Spider-Man. I'm talking about in the comics. That was always an ongoing thing about Aunt May's in trouble. I think that famous bit with the Juggernaut. You know, the bit where he's got to push with all this stuff on him. You see the water cascading down. It's an iconic Spider-Man moment. He's got to get this medicine or such that Aunt May. Nothing can stop the Juggernaut, I think is what it's called. Great Spider-Man story. This, I thought it was just a bit too much talk. Not enough action. Especially for a guy with like electrical powers. You feel a lot more that could have been done with it. But I like the idea of the villain. And just not big on his costume and such. Definitely say I liked him utilized more in the video games, I would say, than in this. So this was there. I mean, it's nice to see Electro introduced. It's not a favorite comic of mine, though. And number 10, this was probably my least favorite of the 10. The Enforcers, some mob guys. Look like they're stuck from the 1930s. Or trying to be like rejects of Dick Tracy. I wasn't big on it. I didn't care for the villains. I didn't care for... Like, this looks like lame-ass Destro. The other villains, I didn't give a shit about them. I didn't feel they should be a threat for Spider-Man. Of course, Aunt May's still in the hospital, still dealing with that from before. So at least there's a bit of continuity. But yeah, I just didn't care about these guys. I didn't care about them as villains. I didn't find them that interesting. Like, this was weird and interesting to have like a fake spider's nest to steer this guy. That was a bit different, I'll give you that. Psychological warfare, so to speak. That was interesting. Something different. I know this guy's a big tough guy, but Spider-Man should be able to beat him. Yeah, like this one, the story just didn't gel for me. Is all. Like I said, I just didn't get into the villains. I think there's a reason why the enforcers never really came back that much. Just, whatever. I mean, there's good moments. I like the idea he drives and steers the shit out of them, fucks these guys up. Definitely some action here where he's able to kick a lot of ass. That's nice to see. Some of the action bits here. I would say the action finale here I like more than the Electro one. There's a lot more baggage from the deal and handle, and this is some guy who's fucking judo expert. Yeah, I'm gonna dump you on your fucking head. Here, just wrecking house punching. Sally doesn't punch that guy. Just had him get away in case have another enforcers for another day. I got to see this through alone. I can't risk the life of a boy I love. No one else can help me except someone like Spider-Man. But what chance would I ever have of receiving aid from him? So it definitely gives you intrigue of what's going on with Betty Brant and what's happening, what's going on for the future to get you to read the next issue. Discover the strange secret of Betty Brant. So leave you a bit of hook to get you intrigued for the next one. So I would say like some of the action the third has nice to see here. Just the villains in themselves, I just don't find that interesting. That's just me though. So I would say this. Of the 10 issues, my favorite's probably the one with the Sandman. Then the first one with the Fantastic Four and the Chameleon. I like the one with Doctor Doom. Least favorite would be this one, the Enforcers. And then if I have a second least favorite, maybe either the first time we see the Vulture. The Living Brain one, at least there's the bit with Johnny Storm in the second half of it, which I do like. Yeah, I would say the first time we meet Vulture. But it was fun. It was fun to look through these older comics, and again, you see the development of the other characters of J. Jonah Jameson and his hatred for Spider-Man and his crusade against him worried about Aunt May, him having the shit of luck, how no matter how much he does, the public is against him because of the cancel culture, the newspapers, and all that. Him feeling more and more lonely, him dealing with Flash Thompson, him dealing with women who don't want to deal with him, or Betty Brant who's got a secret, or all this stuff. This is well before Gwen Stacy, well before Mary Jane, all that stuff come into play. Again, the costume of Spider-Man is great. You see a little bit more of his wit, like when in this one about the car. You know, I always wanted to drive one of these. Let me see, where was that? That was down here a bit. Or maybe not, was it earlier? Yeah. I always wanted to drive one of these sporty jobs. I'm making this trip solo. So you see much more of that humor and wit. That's another thing with these old comics. They always have to remind you who and what Spider-Man can do. So, my spider ability can do this. My spider stream can do this. I guess because they think, well, maybe this will be the first or second issue that someone has read. So we don't want to assume they know everything. So, how did you do that? My spider strength, my spider ability, my spidey sense can do this. So at times they have to over-explain stuff that we wouldn't say naturally, but comic book is just a different form, different piece of media in order to do that kind of stuff. So, but this was fun to do. Nicholas, hope you enjoy. Hopefully this sufficed. Thank you so much for your generosity, your kindness, your patience. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone, and we will see you in the next video. Bye-bye for now.